Penny stocks are volatile investments and you gotta play them very carefully. And today we have two penny stocks that have a lot of potential, especially this one, which is MMEDF. It's $3.32. A lot of good consolidation in this company. In fact, this is probably one of my more favorable companies out there in the market, especially how you do have this massive surge up from just 51 cents a share to a peak of $5 and then stabilized at $3 for an extremely long time. If you look at the technical analysis and look at the graph, it's honestly really appealing because the share prices go from very low, a massive surge up, enormous volume to an extremely high price. And remember, when you see this green candle be extremely long compared to the other ones and a massive spike up, it's honestly time to leave the stock because investors do sell off. Now, here's two things that will happen afterwards. Either the stock sells off all the way back to the original price tag of 50 to 80 cents. Now that's pretty bad because obviously the company doesn't have any fundamentals, but if the stock goes down just a little bit and stabilizes around this region, which is exactly what this company did, which is MindMed, they stabilized at $3 and they have been stabilizing for quite some time. So you got this consolidation of the stock price. Any sort of a big piece of news will call it to jump up. So what is this company? What is MindMed and why should we care? MindMed is in the field of developing psychedelic-based medications and treatments. It's a pretty new area, and so far there's a lot of states, a lot of areas slowly legalizing the medical aspects of this, and obviously this is a drug company. And the company is pretty successful. They're in their very early stages. It's founded by 2019, and it was backed by famous investors like Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, and also the founder of Canopy Growth, which is that giant marijuana company. They currently have 3 products in the pipeline. One of them is 18MC. This is pretty optimistic because MindMed is primarily going to be researching this drug, shows promising results in treating drug, alcohol, and nicotine addiction, which is one of the hardest things to treat. And they actually shows the statistics of using their psychedelics medications to treat people with this sort of thing. And it became pretty successful. And so far, I mean, this is a pretty new industry, very similar to the medical cannabis industry. So I'm really curious about what MindMed has to offer. I think if you want to invest in something pretty new and very unique, then obviously MindMed is the company to check out. There's also another drug called Project Lucy. This is a commercial drug by microdosing LSD by a therapist to treat ADHD in adults and also anxiety disorders. And guess what? Phase 1 trials were pretty successful, so they're now in phase 2 clinical trials, which is good news, by the way. Especially in the world of psychedelics medication, there really isn't any big options. So seeing MindMed doing so well and just through the FDA process, the clinical trials is big. Now there's also digital therapeutics, and they're also betting on digital platforms at delivering psychedelic based treatments, etc. So these guys are extremely techy. It's almost like the future of medicine. Essentially, it's kind of like just a slight path away from using opioids and stuff like that, which is pretty highly addictive. There's a lot of treatments right now for ADHD, anxiety, and also drug addiction. It's just not really that healthy. And people have been trying to find alternative solutions, and turning to MindMed and also their psychedelic medication products seems to be doing pretty well, especially if you look at their reports deeply. They are going through several different phases of the FDA approval process. This is why share prices have been pretty stagnant. I think investors know that's a pretty decent company. There was a pretty massive surge up, and obviously the stock did go down, but the volume that outflowed out of the stock wasn't super high. The company has raised about $185 million since its inception. Raising a bunch of capital is pretty smart for MindMed. And by the way, the psychedelics drugs market is projected to reach $6.85 billion by 2027. It's a pretty small market and an annual growth rate of 16.3%, which is extremely high. Anything, in my opinion, above 7% is considered very fast growing. So obviously MindMed will benefit from this. And there's also other studies about how psychedelic medication is reemerging as a therapeutic program, and it's becoming bigger than ever before. So this is one of the companies that people should definitely check out. It's very interesting. It's gaining a lot of traction around other social media platforms, for example, StockTwix, Reddit, etc., and even Twitter, honestly. And last penny stock that we will talk about is DFFN. This is Diffusion Pharmaceuticals, and they are currently developing a new brain cancer and also pandemic treatment. It's in their pipeline, and they're going through phase 3 trials at this moment. And what happens after phase 3 trials? Well, you get the FDA approval process. So the share prices did go from just 70 cents to $1.85, a massive plummet down to $1, and it's kind of stabilizing around this region. Now, what we want to see right now is perhaps some sort of an indication of an FDA approval. Now, we should be seeing a massive surge of the stock price, perhaps to $2, even $3, if we can even get some sort of a hint that this company will be having a few of their drugs in the pipeline to be approved by FDA. Keep in mind that that FDA process is extremely hard. 3 out of 4 companies do not make it through the FDA process, meaning all the money in the past several months and years just simply evaporated. The drugs also have a wide range of uses for hypoxia, which is a condition where the body or region in the body that is deprived of oxygen supply, and that's on the tissue level. It's pretty scary. It's a cause of several incidences in strokes, heart attacks, etc. And their product they're testing right now, they're going through the pipelines, and they're going through a lot of this phase 2, phase 3 trials. Like, for example, this one, it's hitting phase 3. This one's in the middle of phase 2. So you already have 2 massive drugs already going through, and 2 of them in the preclinical phases. One of them is phase 1. So these guys are pretty well rounded. It's pretty scary when you see one of these pharmaceutical penny stocks, they only have one single drug and you're banking on that. That is honestly pretty difficult and pretty scary. And it's honestly a pretty decent moment to buy because it's already super cheap. And guess what? Diffusion Pharmaceuticals is going to be participating in the H.C. Wainwright BioConnect 2021 conference. And so far, the conference and everything seems to be pretty decent. And by the way, afterwards, you do have H.C. Wainwright. They did buy like $10 million of the common stock. And H.C. Wainwright is a huge investment bank. And when they choose to invest in a penny stock, it's honestly a pretty bullish signal. And $10 million on this tiny little small cap penny stock is a big deal. And they bought it at roughly $1.02 because, obviously when you want to sell this many shares, you got to price it a little bit lower to offer some sort of incentive. And right now the price is at $1.15. I feel like one of the biggest reasons why the shares plummeted so hard was because of that massive stock dilution, and selling the shares at nearly $1 price really dropped the stock. But with H.C. Wainwright now on board, honestly, there's a lot of big things, especially how this company in the past did hit like a really high price, $10, $75. It's a pretty wild stock, and recently volume has been increasing. Volume is like 10 million. At one point it was 100 million. So volume is increasing. If you look at some of the candlesticks, it did go up a lot, went down, but now there's already a lot of enthusiasm, and we finally got our brand new green candle, which means the stock has hit rock bottom. That's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. Comment below. Definitely check out both of these stocks. Super interesting penny stocks. Subscribe for more daily videos.